Hey there, Ruth Haven Grounds family. Today I'm going to share something that's going to revolutionize the way you think about kitchen scraps and soil health. I stumbled upon this technique almost by accident last year, and honestly, I wish I'd known about it decades ago. We're talking about using plain, ordinary rice to attract earthworms to your garden beds. Yes, you read that right. That leftover rice sitting in your fridge? It's not trash. It's earthworm gold. Now, I know what you're thinking. Rice, really? But stick with me here, because what I'm about to share has transformed my garden beds from decent to absolutely thriving with life. The science behind this is fascinating, and the results speak for themselves. Within just 2 to 3 weeks of implementing this technique, I had more earthworms in my beds than I'd seen in years of traditional composting alone. Let me paint you a picture of what's actually happening beneath the surface when you add rice to your soil. Earthworms aren't directly attracted to the rice itself in the way you might think. Instead, rice creates the perfect storm of conditions that earthworms absolutely cannot resist. When rice breaks down in soil, it becomes a feast for beneficial microorganisms. These microscopic helpers, bacteria and fungi primarily, start decomposing the rice almost immediately. As they work their magic, they multiply rapidly, creating a rich, living layer in your soil. And here's the kicker. Earthworms feed on these microorganisms, along with the partially decomposed organic matter. It's like setting up an all-you-can-eat buffet specifically designed for earthworm preferences. But there's more to it. Rice retains moisture beautifully as it breaks down, creating those damp, cool pockets in the soil that earthworms desperately seek, especially during warmer months. Rice also has a relatively neutral pH as it decomposes, which means it won't shock your soil chemistry, while still providing substantial organic matter. Here's where technique really matters, friends. You can't just dump a pot of cooked rice on your garden bed and expect magic to happen. In fact, doing it wrong can actually attract pests or create anaerobic conditions that smell terrible. Trust me, I learned this the hard way in my early experiments. The method that works consistently starts with small quantities. Take your leftover cooked rice, whether it's white or brown doesn't matter much, and let it cool completely. You want about 1 to 2 cups of rice per square meter of garden bed. Any more than that and you risk creating problems instead of solutions. Now here's the crucial part. You need to bury the rice in the soil, not leave it on top. Dig small holes about 4 to 6 inches deep, scattered throughout your bed. Drop a tablespoon or 2 of rice into each hole, then cover it completely with soil. Make sure you're burying it well. Surface application will attract rats, mice, and other pests you definitely don't want in your garden. I like to create a grid pattern with my rice deposits, spacing them about 12 to 18 inches apart. This ensures even distribution of the earthworm-attracting benefits throughout the entire bed. Think of it as creating multiple hotspots of biological activity that will eventually connect as earthworms tunnel between them. One of the most common questions I get from the Ruth Haven Grounds community is how often to repeat this process. The answer depends on your goals and your current earthworm population, but I'll share what works for me. For establishing earthworms in a new bed or reviving a depleted one, I apply rice every 2 weeks for the first 2 months. This creates consistent conditions that encourage earthworms to not just visit, but actually take up residence and reproduce. After that initial establishment period, I scale back to once monthly during the growing season. Timing within the season also plays a role. Spring and fall are your golden opportunities. Soil temperatures are moderate, moisture levels are typically good, and earthworm activity is naturally high. During hot summer months, earthworms go deeper anyway, so I reduce frequency. In winter, depending on your climate, earthworm activity slows significantly, so there's less benefit to regular applications. Here's a pro tip that's made a huge difference in my results. Apply rice after a good watering or before expected rain. The moisture helps kickstart decomposition and creates those ideal conditions faster. If you're in a dry period, water the area lightly after burying the rice. Let's talk realistic timelines because I want you to have proper expectations. This isn't an overnight miracle, but it is remarkably effective when done consistently. In the first week after application, you probably won't notice much above ground. Below the surface, though, microorganisms are already going to work. By week 2, if you gently dig near one of your rice deposits, you'll likely find the rice has started breaking down into a creamy, microbial-rich mass. By week 3 to 4, this is when things get exciting. Start checking your soil and you'll begin spotting earthworms near the treatment areas. They'll be feeding on the microbial bloom and the partially decomposed rice. If you're patient and observant, you might even catch them in the act during early morning or evening hours when they're most active near the surface. After 2 months of consistent application, the difference in your soil structure becomes visible. The soil becomes more crumbly, with better aggregation. You'll see more earthworm castings on the surface, those little mounds of digested soil that are absolute black gold for plant nutrition. Your soil will hold moisture better but also drain more effectively, thanks to all those earthworm tunnels creating natural aeration. While rice alone is powerful, combining it with other earthworm-friendly practices multiplies your success. I've found that maintaining a layer of organic mulch on the surface creates the cool, moist environment earthworms prefer. As they come up to feed on the rice decomposition, they'll also grab pieces of surface mulch and pull it down, further enriching your soil. Avoid tilling or turning your soil aggressively once you've started attracting earthworms. These creatures create vertical and horizontal burrows that improve soil structure dramatically, but tilling destroys their homes and can kill them directly. If you must work the soil, use a broad fork to gently loosen it without destroying the established worm tunnels. Chemical fertilizers and pesticides are earthworm enemies. They're sensitive creatures, and harsh chemicals can drive them away or kill them outright. Since you're going through the effort to attract them with rice, protect that investment by going organic with your other inputs. Compost, aged manure, and organic fertilizers work beautifully alongside this technique. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, and that's okay. If you're not seeing earthworms after about a month of applications, check your burial depth. Too shallow and the rice dries out or, attracts pests before it can work its magic. Too deep and decomposition slows dramatically. Soil pH can also be a limiting factor. Earthworms prefer a pH between 6.0 and 7.5. If your soil is very acidic or alkaline, address that first with lime or sulfur as appropriate. No amount of rice will convince earthworms to live in hostile pH conditions. If you notice a bad smell developing, you've likely buried too much rice at once or your soil is too compacted and wet, creating anaerobic conditions. Reduce the amount you're using and improve drainage in that area. The decomposition should be essentially odorless when done correctly. Friends, this simple technique using something you'd otherwise throw away can genuinely transform your garden soil from the ground up. I've watched it work in my own beds, and honestly, I've heard success stories from so many of you who've tried it after seeing our videos. If this article helped you or you're excited to try this technique, do me a favor, subscribe to Ruthhaven Grounds if you haven't already, and share this with your fellow gardeners. Let's build healthier soil and more abundant gardens together, 1 cup of rice at a time. Drop a comment and let me know how it works in your garden. I read every single one and, hey, I love hearing about your successes. Happy gardening, and remember, healthy soil grows healthy plants and earthworms are your underground allies in making that happen.